We are live inside of Lobtown. The game is officially over. Auburn wins versus Memphis. The final score here inside of the Maui Invitational, 90-76. Auburn comes out with the victory. Hopefully everybody is doing well. Y'all know what y'all need to be doing when we're in here inside the reaction zone. You need to be sharing this video with somebody out there on social media, letting them know we're in here talking about this game. Auburn gets the job done. Hopefully everybody is having a great Wednesday and holiday season, all of those things. Very good stretch of 3 games from the Auburn Tigers there to get the win versus a tough Memphis team, but they were dominant from the very beginning of this game. This one wasn't really ever in question. Auburn just looked like the superior team the way that they are supposed to out here. So props to the Auburn Tigers for getting that dub there. But again, share the video out here, like the video, do all of those things so we can get this thing in motion. Leading scorer, of course, for tonight was Janai Broome with 21 points. He was 8 of 15 shooting, 2 of 4 from 3, 3 of 4 from free throw, had 16 boards, so 21 and 16, and 6 assists on the night, played 32 minutes. He played 30 minutes every game in this tournament, man. So Janai Broome played heavy minutes during this. It's going to be interesting to see what he is how his minutes progression goes towards as this season continues. But he didn't look like he was out of shape at all. He definitely was putting in that work during the offseason. But he played a lot of minutes in this game. Memphis actually outscored Auburn by 2 points in the second half of this game there towards the end, but just dominance all the way through in this one. 90 again to 76 for Auburn. Other high scores, Dylan Cardwell, second leading scorer on the team with 18 points, a perfect 8 of 8 from the field because he got fouled on the other 2 shots that he missed. But he absolutely tried to end somebody's life with a dunk attempt there and got fouled on it. Only 1 of 3 from the free throw line, but he had surprisingly only 3 rebounds. That's crazy. I don't know that I would have expected that to be the stat line. 3 rebounds, 6 assists, and how many block shots did Deal end up with? Let's go and see that. Blocks for Dylan Cardwell. They didn't credit him with any block shots either. Wow, I didn't expect that. But he definitely went out there and did his thing in this game. Denver Jones with 11 on 3 of 9 shooting, only 1 of 4 from 3. But Denver Jones played some really good and key minutes there for Auburn. Dylan Cardwell with 6 assists is crazy. But yeah, 6 assists and 18 points for Cardwell. Chad Baker-Mazara, the other double-digit scorer with 14 on 5 of 6 shooting there. He had 5 assists himself. So Janai had 6. Chad had 5, and Dylan had 6 as far as assists go. That is a great stat line there. 23 assists in total for the team with not only 9 turnovers is a great assist to turnover ratio there. When you look at some of the other statistics, Auburn shot 57% from the field in this game, 33% from 3. Memphis shot 67% from 3. They didn't take a lot of threes, but they made 6 of the 9 that they took. 82% from the free throw line for Auburn on 14 of 17 shooting. Only forced 11 turnovers, which again is a little low for what you would expect from an Auburn team. This Memphis team took care of the ball for the most part, but they were just getting limited in the shots. They were making them. They were tough possessions that Memphis was out there trying to figure out how to get points. Auburn dominates the glass 32-24. So 6 rebound differential there. The big difference being the 11 offensive boards that Auburn was able to get. Second chance points, they had 18 for Auburn to Memphis's 14. 24 points off the bench for Auburn in this game. 44-36 points in the paint. Now, remember, well, you don't remember because you guys weren't in here, but my Green Name Gang folks were in here during the game. We were doing a live stream watch party. Memphis was leading points in the paint at the half, so Auburn came back to get that. 5 blocks on the game for Auburn, 6 steals, and 23, as I already said, assists. Auburn dominated wire to wire. This game was only tied the first 22 seconds of the game because that was when the score was 0-0. Outside of that, Auburn was the ones out there making it happen. So really good win for Auburn and a great tournament showing, taking down the likes of a tough Iowa State team that looked really dominant in the other games that they played, and a a North Carolina team that, from a name standpoint, um, is always going to get the headlines. They were coming in ranked number 12. I don't know that they're the 12th best team in the country, but they are a tough. They're a team that puts up points, right? And Auburn was able to limit them defensively, and that was the key to that game. So, but then this Memphis team was giving everybody else the blues, and Auburn limits them to 76 points in this game, while scoring 90 themselves. So, great effort all around from a lot of guys in this game. Miles Kelly didn't really do a lot in this game. Only 2 points, only took 2 shots, didn't need to. Played 13 minutes in this game. So that's kind of showing you the depth of the team right there, because he wasn't in foul trouble. So I don't know if there was anything going on with him, but he only played 13 minutes. Chad being gritty out there, 25 minutes again in this game. Denver Jones played 31 minutes. Chaney Johnson, man. Chaney Johnson, for me, one of my favorite, besides Dylan Cardwell trying to baptize a dude, the block from Chaney in the on the break is one of the best plays from this game for me. And I love what I saw from him out there during this game. Again, just kind of a constant force out there, working hard on the defensive end, going and getting loose balls. Just love the Chaney Johnson effort out here. Let's get over here to the comment section, see what you all are talking about. I know you don't want to just hear me talk this entire time. We'll start it off with super chats. As always, Stephen Neely gets us jumped off. It says, whatever OTV gave Broome in the NIL package, they should double it. Dude is a legit walking double-double. War Damn Eagle beat Bama. Yeah, man. Listen, he is out here earning his keep. That is for sure. Broome he's been dominant. Like, I don't think it's close to say he's been the most dominant player through the first 6 games of this season on anybody's team. And I've watched a lot of college basketball so far this year. He is dominating in so many different ways, offensively and defensively. I talked about this in the live stream that we had when I was doing the watch party. The gravity of what he brings, where when he touches the basketball, they feel like, okay, we've got to go send double teams his way. And the way in which he's finding players out of those double teams and seeing the floor has been amazing so far this season. Shout out to Janai Broome and the work he put in during the offseason to just really understand what his options and availabilities were during games, to be able to go out there and put up the kind of numbers that he's putting up right now. And he clearly worked on his cardio during the offseason, because he's playing heavier minutes, but he seems like he's still being strong at the end of games. So definitely shout out to him. Got my guy. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready down there. Dustin jumping in here, giving us some live reaction and thoughts here. Dustin, Up Tempo Podcast, reacting here. Auburn is the champions of the Maui Invitational Tournament. Thoughts on not just this game, but what you've seen in those 3 games from Auburn and in this season so far?
I think you've seen why Bruce Pearl was so comfortable putting together the non-conference schedule that he put together. He knew he had a good team. And what really excites me is you have 3 guys, I feel like, in obviously Janai and then CBM in Denver, that can go get a bucket whenever they need it. Yeah. I'm looking at a team that can win a game that is a race to 100. I'm looking at a team that can win a game that first 1 to 60 wins. So I trust this team to play different kind of styles and be able to adapt and win that way. And I still think their best basketball is ahead of them. Like, they're playing like they're the best team in the country, and they still have a lot of growing to do as a team, and I think that they can get better. Yeah, man, it's really exciting. I think they obviously went to Hawaii this week and made the statement that next time the polls roll around, you're crazy if you don't have Auburn as number 1.
It's not going to happen, but I agree with you. Auburn's right now looking like the best team in the country. Kansas is going to maintain that spot until somebody beats them.
Yeah.
But Auburn right now is playing better than Kansas is. I've watched Kansas play. Now, Kansas, what was impressive for me, Hunter Dickinson gets kicked out of the game for kicking a dude in the head, which is crazy, in their last game. And Kansas still wins that game without him. And that was like 10 minutes left in the game, and it was still in question, but they found a way to win that. I'd have to ask myself, if Janai Broome got kicked out of a game with 10 minutes left in the game, would this Auburn team still be able to win? I don't know the answer to that right now. I would hope so, because there's enough on this team to be able to do stuff. I still think you haven't seen the best of guys like Hudson and Pegues and even Pettiford. that will come off the bench and give you some minutes. But Hudson, I think, can give you some really tough minutes down in the post. He's not going to be as physically dominant as Janai Broome, but I think he's going to be sneaky good down there. And so I would hope that this team could, but that's an unanswered question for me. Kansas has proved quality opponent, your best, most dominant player not in the game. Can you still close the game? They've done that. So I'm not mad at Auburn being ranked number 2, but they darn sure at least better be number 2.
Yeah, for sure.
Super chat here from Ben Bloodworth said, starting with Houston, is this a more impressive run than our Final Four run? Somebody asked me this during the watch party. No, the answer to that for me is no, because it's the tournament. Like, you lose one of these games, you still got a game tomorrow. You lose in the tournament, you're done. That's it, right? Like, I get that these are quality teams, Houston and Iowa State and North Carolina, and even this tough Memphis team, but they beat Kentucky, Kansas, and who else was it? And North Carolina in the SEC. I mean, in the NCAA tournament. Yeah,
it was murder's row of blue bloods.
And that run right there is, again, it's win or else in that situation. This isn't win or else. It's good, more dominant. Right, you look better in these games, but it ain't the same.
Let's look at the ratings for the Maui Invitational versus the NCAA tournament come March. I think there's a lot more eyes on March, and Auburn better be motivated by the way that the season ended last year, because you won the SEC championship, you won the SEC tournament, everything's looking great, and then you go right out there versus Yale and you drop the ball and you lose, and kind of shoot yourself in the foot when you do it. So. Right. Yeah, like March is when all eyes are on you, and that's kind of what you're judged by. And this is a testament to what Bruce Pearl has built. But I'm sitting here texting with some friends in a group chat saying, hey, they were kind of texting me like, congratulations, man, I think you got the best team in the country right now. And I said, yeah. And then if this team doesn't make the Elite Eight, Final Four type thing, it'll be disappointing because they're just that good. And what I'm saying was, it's a testament to what Bruce Pearl has built and the roster that he's put together, that's kind of what the program is judged off at this point. So I'm happy as everybody else, but also with the realization that it raises the expectations for this team.
Yeah, it absolutely does. But to your point, it's a long season, right? And early in the year, there's a lot of teams that are going to look good and are going to fade towards the back end of the year as, injuries happen, as fatigue starts to happen both mentally and physically for teams. It's a war of attrition sometimes in seasons where it's like, can you survive as your best self, or can you get hot at the right time? So playing well this early in the season, absolutely love it as a fan to be able to go and watch that stuff, but you need to be playing this well in March, and that's when it's going to really matter. Shout out to them, not putting the cart before the horse. But to your point, let's talk about expectations, right? You say the expectation is raised.
Oh, yeah.
What is relative? I think everybody feels like the ceiling is national title, right? Like, this team should be cutting down nets at the end of the year with what the ceiling is for this team. Where do you feel like the floor should be very early, 6 games into the season? Like, what's the floor for this Auburn basketball team right now?
Well, I'll say regular season wise, you need to get to 23, 24 wins for sure. And I acknowledging you still got tough games at Purdue, I guess it's a kind of neutral site, but obviously Cameron Indoor next week, and then like just staying healthy in the SEC, just the physicality of the league right now. That's a whole task in itself. So what will your team look like come March when you factor in all those things? But really for me, that question it kind of becomes what does a bracket look like? Like, for example, last year, if Auburn would have ran into UConn in the Sweet 16 and lost, would have had no problem. Would have said, cool, like you reached your ceiling type thing. So a lot of that is kind of what does a bracket look like? How does it all go? But yeah, 24 wins, 25 wins, somewhere in that range, like consistent
SEC
all
regular
year.
Season title.
Yeah. You should definitely, that should definitely be the goal. Because the committee kind of showed you last year, and they've shown you the last couple of years, they don't really value the SEC tournament or any of the conference tournaments that much. They don't really, it doesn't factor into your seeding. It seems like the resume you build throughout the regular season factors a lot more. And I mean, does anybody have a better resume than Auburn right now? Like,
no.
Yeah, if it ended today, obviously a lot of basketball left. You definitely would be a 1 seed.
Arguably, you've got Kentucky out there who beat Duke. already. But that was a home game for Kentucky, by the way. Like, oh
Yeah.
no, actually, it was at a neutral site. I can't remember. It wasn't at Cameron Indoor. I know that for a fact. Um, and I think Kansas has had some impressive wins so far this season. But I'd put Auburn's resume versus anybody's. Yeah. Um, Tournament time. I think you already said this. Is this a team that you expect again today? Season ends today, way too early for probably doing these kind of projections. A team that you would expect to be Elite Eight, Sweet 16. Like, what do you think is like
Elite Eight, man. You got to, like, right now, the way you're playing, it's got to be Elite Eight. And I say that, and I want to say Final Four, national championship type, because the way you're playing right now.
right?
But the tournament's just so crazy. It's
It
just
is.
it's just so
You
nuts.
can
So
run
like,
into a team that's just hot
yeah,
at the right time, and you're just not. Your shots aren't like it could be first half versus Iowa State for the entire 40 minutes, where it's like, come on, are you serious? They're making
yeah,
that
yeah. You're
because
playing some mid major that's out here just hitting 35 footers for 40 minutes. You run into that. So yeah,
yeah,
but I mean, Elite Eight, man. You got to. This team has to make a deep run. You got to make a deep run. Janai Broome is you can get a bucket at any time. It feels like it feels like at
yeah,
any time. It's like, okay, we need one. Give it to four. He'll go down there and get it. And when you have that, and you have as many seniors, that's the thing too. I think back to the year when we started off 19-0, and number one in the country and everything, and then you run into what we were 2 seed, right? We ran into Miami in the second round, and you just kind of saw that experience of Miami, all those upperclassmen they had. It kind of played out over the course of the
right,
game in that tournament situation. So we're the team now that should be motivated by the way the season ended last year.
right,
You've played like a lot of these guys, CBM, Janai, we can go down the list like Denver. This is their second year together, so like you're an experienced group. You've been through battles, you've been through wars, you've had successes. You just won the Maui Invitational. That's a big deal. You won the SEC tournament, but you last year, but you also had failures, and you got to
right,
exit first round. But so they've been through the ups and downs. They're an experienced team, and that part plays a factor in it too. And again, like we've seen, Bruce Pearl's been our coach long enough now. He's never put together a non-conference schedule like this. I mean, Duke, Purdue, Houston, the Maui Invitational, like he's telling you, and all that before the SEC, which is probably the
yeah,
best and
gauntlet,
deepest it's ever been,
yeah,
right? So, like, yeah, man, he trusts his team's depth, and he thinks that he has a very good team. So it's really, if the question I have, like, is like this team reaching its ceiling, is I think back to Javon McCormick. And if you're Pegues, can you fill that role? You mentioned Hudson. Can you come in and give us quality minutes as a
right,
big? It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but it doesn't have to be any. You don't even have to fill the stat sheet. Just do a version of what Chris Moore does at your position. Just give quality minutes. And if those couple of roles off the bench can be filled and they can raise, then like that really raises the ceiling up for this team to where they could easily be cutting down nets as national champions if they do
right. Because
everything right.
somebody gets in foul trouble, and you've gotta rely on minutes from one of those guys. Are they going to be able to step up and give you quality minutes? Is going to be the question, and you've got to have one or two of those games in the tournament where the guy
Yeah.
who you thought was going to carry you to the finish line is in foul trouble. What are you going to do? Right. And, and that was the special thing about that Auburn team that made the Final Four run. Like, your best player gets hurt, and they found guys to kind of supplement that. And if it's not for a terrible call, you're going to the championship game. Right. And so, definitely good teams have that depth, have guys that just step up in moments. And it's going to be interesting to see who, as I'm saying this, I'm thinking about Tahad Pettiford and how much of a dog he is. Like,
Yeah.
he's an absolute, he wants those big moments. You can tell he's a guy who he's just looking for his opportunity to shine in a big moment, and he's going to he's played his best basketball against the best competition that Auburn's faced. When they're playing nobody schools, it seems like but as soon as the lights come on, that kid is ready, bro. He is ready, and I love the tenacity that he attacks the game with. He's going to be special. He's going to be special. I like the game Tahad Pettiford brings out there.
And I know you see it doing all the film breakdown you do. You've probably seen it with this year with guys like Cam Coleman and DeMarcus Riddick over on the football side. There's just some guys just have this electricity about them. It just
Right.
pops off. It just pops off different. And Tahad has that at the point guard position. That I don't think we've had since Jared Harper, but
Yeah.
even it took Jared a couple years to develop into that player. Tahad is electric, man. That's like when he has a ball in his hands, anything can happen. It's really fun to watch.
He definitely is. Let's go back here to the chat. We got a couple of more super chats. Appreciate you guys jumping in. If you haven't already, go ahead and share this video out there. Get that thumbs up button working so we can get those likes on the stream going. We got Robert jumping in with the super chat who says, Cameron Indoor is going to be unlike anything Auburn has ever experienced. Environment aside, what concerns y'all most about the matchup with Duke?
Refs, the officiating.
Yeah, ref show. Ref show is definitely going to be a concern in that when the home whistle there inside of Cameron Indoor. I think, and I haven't watched a lot of Duke basketball this year. I think that Duke is a supremely talented team. I think that Duke is a team that's a little bit younger. And so Auburn has the ability to maybe go in there and not let the environment impact them that much, right? Like what you're going to have to worry about with this team, which they haven't shown yet, right? Because they go into Houston, albeit neutral site, but they go into Houston and cool, calm, and collected, even down big. They just never seem shaken so far this season in hostile territory, even though Auburn travels really well, all that stuff, hostile territory. They just don't seem to get shaken by teams punching first. And it's like, all right, okay. It's like one of those things, it's like watching a Bruce Lee film and he punches him and he's like, he tastes his lip. He's like, oh, okay. All right. It's a good shot. Good shot. All right, let's do this now. It's like you're watching that. Fight. Yeah, you're watching this play out routinely with this team of like, cool. That was cute. That was cute. It's my turn now, right? And so I think if you can continue to do that and keep the calm heads, and I mean that not wanting to fight. Right. And so I don't know that Duke has those antagonistic type of guys on their team. So I have to go watch some film on them and see if that's the kind. But if they do have those guys that can kind of get under the skin of a couple of the guys, because this team is definitely feisty for sure. Yeah. Right. And they're ready for a fight, whether it is we need to claw our way back into the game or we physically gonna put hands on somebody. They read whatever smoke you want. This is a team that's ready to go. Oh, that's what we doing today? Okay, cool. Okay.
How fun is that Bama matchup going to be with this team, Mike?
Oh, it's going to be if there is not a player who ends up with blood coming from someplace on their body in that game, I will be surprised. I'll be surprised. Bama still doesn't have an answer for Janai Broome, though. They just don't. And on the interior, they don't have an answer for him.
I mean, we're playing some of the best teams in the country already right out the gate, and I don't see anybody that does.
I mean, the thing with Janai,
I haven't watched every team, but I mean, man.
Yeah, but the thing with Janai this year is his ability to pass out of the double team has become so top.
Yeah, that alley-oop to Dylan was sick.
He's become such a good passer, man. Like he is giving you, what's your boy's name from Denver? The center,
Joker.
He's giving you Joker. Like he's not as flashy. He's definitely not as good a pass. I'm not saying that he is Nikola Jokic. Like, calm down. But he's giving you that kind of feel of the way that he's dominating on every portion of the floor. Defensively, he's playing smart. He's not getting in foul trouble a lot. He's blocking shots. He's directing traffic out there. He's understanding what the action is supposed to be that people are doing and taking it away. Offensively, he's kind of scoring it. And the reason I give him a Joker comparison is he's not like some above the rim type of guy. Like he's going to step out. He's going to shoot some threes for you. But when he needs to be able to pass the basketball, he's doing a good job of passing out of double teams, and he's getting assists to guys. He's giving guys opportunities to score immediately because of the way people are defending him. I love everything about Janai Broome's game right now.
How much of that do you think is him moving from the 5 to the 4 a lot of the times and kind of being out more in space?
I mean, I do think that the outside shooting improvement was necessary for that to be a good move for him. But I do think a portion of that with having Dylan available on that low block to be able to be in that dunker spot when he gets to the high post is it makes it so hard to defend or double team him out of the high post, because it's like, where's the double going to come from, right? Like, are you going to double off of Denver Jones? That's not very smart. Are you going to double off of Miles
Yeah.
Kelly? That's not very smart. Like, Chaney Johnson stepping out there shooting threes. I mean, maybe you double off of him when Chris Moore's out there. You definitely send that guy. But the team is so, Chad, are you doubling off of him? Like, so you really want to send a big, because he can just look over the top of a double team of anybody that's not a big. So when you send a big out there, you got one of the best finishers at the rim in the dunker. So it's so tough, man. Like,
Yeah.
and that's what makes him so hard to guard, because he can see over the top of the double team and he's not panicking. When he's getting the ball, he's being so deliberate this year. He's catching it, he's surveying, and he's knowing when to go quickly and when to take his time and not rush everything. He's playing a very cerebral game right now. I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oda Smith jumps in with the super chat. Do not put us at number one. Keep us right where we are. I personally don't care if Auburn gets ranked number one. It's good for the headlines and maybe, a good, Bruce Pearl, we made history thing again, but I don't care. Long as you're in there in the top four when the seeding comes out and you get a good bracket space in the tournament, that's what I care about. Is like, how are you going to seat them in the tournament? Early in the season, who's the number one team in the country, all that kind of stuff. That's just putting the target on you. So everybody's going to try to play their best ball. It's like, oh, we get to knock off the number one team. Like, look, man, just keep winning basketball games and make it to the tournament healthy. Because I think this team healthy in the tournament is an absolute nightmare for anybody.
Yeah, I mean, you did a good job of just breaking down just what the problems that Janai presents himself, and then if you're forcing them to make business decisions, and when Auburn is protecting the basketball and one of the most efficient shooting teams in the country, you combine that with what Bruce Pearl is going to do on the defensive end,
right?
Man, it makes for a tough 40 minutes for anybody, and you're seeing that play out.
Yeah, absolutely. Jazzy Joe jumps in with another super chat here. He says, let's take a moment to recognize all the fans that got beat up by flying players through the tournament. Yeah, man, my boy got the black eye there from getting kicked in the face. The kid on the baseline who got it slid into and got hit in his like sternum. There's been a lot of folks that have been taking a lot of injuries, timeouts there on the baseline in Maui. And those are premium seats too, man. You paid a lot of money to get punched in the face by some player diving for a loose ball, bro.
That's a fact.
Another super chat here from Oda. By the way, let Riddick and Cam talk that talk, Buck Fama. Yeah. I listen. I it's a basketball show. I feel you. I'm not mad at it. I'll give my opinions on it at another time, but I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at him for sure. Clint Murphy here says this year's squad is nasty. War Damn Eagle for sure. Prentice Jones jumps in and says War Eagle and again, CMO's efforts are undefeated. Let's give some flowers to senior hustle man Chris Moore and the effort he relentlessly puts out there on the basketball court.
Yeah, James Posey, the 06 Miami Heat. Like, if you go back and you watch those games, those teams, they beat the Mavericks in the finals. And they were, it was Shaq's, like, kind of the end of Shaq's prime. He was still a really good player, still all-star level center. And then Dwayne Wade kind of became into his own. They had, like, just really solid pieces around the team. But James Posey was a guy, man, that would come in and he might have 3 points a night. He did that throughout his NBA career. Come in and take charges, dive for ball. Like, that's exactly the player that Chris Moore reminds me of. And if you think back to Auburn's 2019 Final Four run, there's some tournament games there, man, where Denzel Purefoy had to come off the bench and hit a couple big shots. And just this... Those, like, Chris, if Auburn's going to reach their ceiling, like we talked about a minute ago, and they're going to make a deep tournament run, then Chris Moore's going to be asked to make big plays. He's going to be asked to make a big shot or two, and I have confidence that he's going to do it, man.
Yeah, I love just Chris Moore was a guy last year, and I'm going to have the JP Pegues conversation right now. But he was a guy last year who early in the season just didn't look like he had his confidence offensively. He was not playing confidently. He wasn't shooting the ball confidently. He wasn't handling the ball confidently. He wasn't going to the rim confidently. But you knew he had the ability to do that stuff. And that's what I see in JP Pegues right now. A guy who, it's not because he can't do this stuff. For whatever reason, his confidence isn't there in it. And I think it has a lot to do. We talked about this early last year with Denver Jones. I think it has a lot to do with the adjustment to the level of play, with not having to be the guy and trying to figure out where your space is on this team without doing too much, and and feeling dwarfed by some of the guys that are around you that are just kind of like you're used to being that gravitational force for the team, and you're not that, right? And so playing in the shadows of a great player, I don't know if people realize how difficult that is. Like when there is a guy who is the guy for your team and you're coming to be a supplemental piece for that, not everybody is really built for that. Some guys are built to be the guy. And that's not a bad thing necessarily that you're built to be the guy, but you gotta have to understand that and grow into your game. Denver Jones has grown into that really well. But it took him a while last year to figure out how to be a number 3, really. Like he wasn't even like the number 2 player. Now he eventually, I think, became the number 2 guy on that team, but it took him a while to say, all right, let me just lock in defensively and my shots will come.
Yeah.
And for me, Denver Jones might be one of the best two-way players in the country right now. JP Pegues needs to figure that out for himself this year. And he needs to figure out how to get his confidence back. Bruce Pearl did something very interesting during this game. Number one, he absolutely lit into JP at one point during the second half of this game. And you could just see on his face, you could see his confidence start to dip down as he's getting talked to. Then JP goes out there, he gets the good alley-oop throw out there, and he makes, a 3, and he does. And Bruce Pearl, during a timeout, goes to JP and he lifts his hand up and he's screaming to the crowd to cheer him on about how tough he's playing. Bruce just kind of understands, like, yeah, I'm going to give you this toughness, but I'm going to give you this love as well, because he knows I need you to lock in, bro. Like, this isn't acceptable. I know you can be better than this, but hey, let me give you the pat on the back as well. So that's good coaching, man. It's good coaching.
Yeah, I agree with you. We saw JP last year in the tournament make big shots, so I believe in the player that he is. And it helps a lot too. And Denver's a great example. It helps a lot too. And I don't like Denver at point, Ike. I'm not. And it's not a Denver thing. It's just I think he's better at the 2. I think his game is better at the 2.
Great point guard on this team. That's why JP needs to elevate his play, because he is the only true point guard on the team.
Yeah. Yeah, if he can play that Javon McCormick role and just give us those solid, efficient minutes and make the defense respect him and distribute the basketball, that's all he needs to do, and I think he can do it. And it's tough, man, but it's a long season. There are guys right now that are probably playing really good basketball that are gonna go through some slumps. Like, it is what it is, and then you're just hopeful that JP's gonna figure it out, and I think he will. And Bruce knows what he's doing. He knows that JP needed that, and yeah, I trust BP, man. I think it's a situation that's going to work itself out. And if it doesn't, I remember me and you last year, halfway through the season, being like, hey, there are nights where we're running out of point guards, and that's going to kill us in March.
Right.
And then we got to the first game in March, and we ran into some foul trouble, and there was a guy that we couldn't even play. Right. And it just became, and the other guy got tired. So it is a situation that it will come back to bite you in the worst times if you don't get it figured out. But I think JP's got all the talent and ability in the world, and I think he's gonna be able to figure his role out, because it's not a huge role that he's gonna be asked to play. Right. And I think that as the season goes on, and hell, like it's not like he's going against cupcakes. Like he should be. We're gonna know by the time it comes into SEC play. Like you've had plenty of tests to figure it out.
Yeah, and that's, again, going back to what you said about the way that Coach Pearl put the preseason or the early season pre-conference schedule together, is that you're going to know who your team is going into SEC play. There's not going to be a question. Like last year, this team didn't have any quad 1 wins going into SEC play, right? And so you're just like, okay, they're good and they're blowing the doors off of people at the crib, but they can't beat anybody on the road. How is this? But they were playing well at neutral site games, but blew up Indiana in Atlanta. They went up to Huntsville, played with like the neutral site games, no problem, right? But on the road, they struggled, and they haven't played a true. This Duke game is going to tell you a lot because it's going to be their first what they would consider true road game because you've played these neutral site games so far and you've done okay. True road game against a team that's going to be ranked in the top 10, 15 most likely. How well do you play in that environment, win or lose? But if it's a close game, can you find another way to finish out that game there? It's going to tell you, like, you're going to know everything you need to know about this Auburn basketball team by the end of next week. Going back here to the chat, super chat from Jazzy Joe says, if Broome continues dominating and wins the Player of the Year award, do y'all think Broome is the greatest player to ever play for Auburn?
Whew. Yeah, so you got to kind of define it, Jazzy, because people take greatest in two different ways, right? When I hear greatest, I'm thinking of your Auburn career.
Right.
Because if it's the best player to come out of Auburn, it's Charles Barkley. And it's not really a question.
It's not even close, right?
Right. So, so as far as but the greatest Auburn career, that's a very interesting question. I would say he's got one tournament win.
Right.
So maybe make a deep run, Sweet 16.
Yeah, I mean, how many does Charles Barkley have?
None. None. Right. Yeah, he's also like a top 25 player of all time. So it's kind of, you're trying to nitpick when you do that. It's a very interesting. I don't think there's really, to me, there's not a definite answer to greatest Auburn player of all time. If you're looking at like the totality of their career and all that at Auburn, if you're going off for the best ever, then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, I think Charles Barkley it's going to be difficult to unseat a guy who had the NBA career Charles Barkley had and was as dominant as he was on bad basketball teams. But it's going to be difficult for me to look at, even if you got like a guy like Jay Will, right, who is the winningest Auburn player of all time. He's nowhere near the level of dominance that Janai Broome is, right? And so I think it's fair to put him in the conversation. Like he probably is already on the Auburn Mount Rushmore with the 3 years he's played at Auburn. And what he's been able to do on this team. He's got 1,000 points in an Auburn uniform, right? Like he's been that good. So yeah, I think it'd be difficult for me to not put him in the top 4 conversation. And I think he will have earned, maybe if he gets to a Player of the Year thing and you get a championship on there, then we come back and let's have that conversation. Then we can talk Janai versus Charles at that point in time, maybe. But he's going to be up there for sure.
Yeah, in my lifetime right now, I'd say my answer would be Bryce Brown. I've seen him win games, hit big shots, make a deep tournament run. He was a winner.
Yeah, Bryce Brown's definitely a winner. Jared Harper, definitely a winner. Like Jared Harper was a different kind of animal out there on the court.
Dogs, man. Dogs.
So looking forward to how this team finishes. Robert Guy here says they are finishing great game against great teams, excuse me. And honestly, they haven't done it when it matters over the years. I know it's early, but Auburn is looking like a team that can go real deep in March. Yes, absolutely looking like a team that can make some things happen there in the tournament. I'm going to make the most lewd transition to joy mode out of that and talking about going real deep. But if you need an effort to do that, try joymode.com. 20% off, less free shipping when you use code REPORT over there, and that tells them the folks at the War Report sent you. But yeah, so definitely a team that has the capability of doing that. Because of the depth. Honestly, it's the depth of this team. When you get to the bench, there's not a huge drop off. And somebody asked me this earlier: how do I like the Twin Towers look of Janai and Dylan? And the reason I love it is because of the way that you can dominate defensively early and just really take teams out of what they want to be able to do. Because Janai moves his feet so well, Dylan moves his feet so well out top. But then you have which shot blocker do you take? You have to take them both out of the paint, right? So you literally have to play a 5-out offense against them to start the game and be able to make tough contested shots from the outside. You have to. So, and then once you get into the defensive rotation, and I said this when we were doing the live stream during the game, Dylan was out there dominating, right? He tried to put somebody in the body bag and he gets tired and it's like, man, Dylan's coming off the court. Well, Janai Broome's the guy coming in the sub for him at that point in time. It's like you get no break. There's going to be a guy who is going to be a good paint defender on the floor almost every minute of the game, unless somebody's in foul trouble. So, yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. And it raises Janai's draft stock, but it also changes the way that you can play defensively.
Yeah, we're lethal, man. And it also it's again, you can win in multiple ways. Like there's any kind of style of game, I feel comfortable that Auburn can pull it out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Flex Machine said what we were saying earlier. The fact that we have 4 quad 1 wins in November when last year we couldn't get one until SEC play. Insane. Agreed. It's absolutely insane that they've got them 4 already. Any other thoughts about this game before we get out of here, man? Auburn gets the win. Maui Invitational 90-76 against a tough Memphis team. Any final thoughts on this?
Nah, man, just really proud of this team. Really proud of the fans that went out there and traveled to Hawaii. Glad that they got to see a good, the tournament championship, man. And let's just keep building. We still got a lot of big games ahead of us. Staying healthy is going to be a big part of it. This SEC meat grinder and everything that comes along with that. But really, really excited for the ceiling of this team, man. And it's going to be a fun journey. We got more big wins ahead of us.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right. Well, we are about to get out of here, man. As always, you guys make sure that you like the video before you do. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Go subscribe to my guy Dustin over there at the Uptempo podcast and get locked in with them. They got a lot of great coverage that they're going to be doing. Actually, before we get out of here, Dustin, tell them about some of the stuff that you all have coming up as we get closer to early signing day and get further into this basketball season and transitioning into baseball season.
Yeah, I haven't been shy about it, Ike. If you're 5-6 and you're pulling in a top 5 class, then I think you got the best recruiting head coach in the country. And Auburn is just look on the field this year. Jalen Crawford, DeMarcus Riddick, you guys know Malik Blockton, Cam Coleman, all these freshmen contributing. They're bringing in an even better class this year. So we got a lot of film breakdown coming in on those guys. Really, really excited. Got some intel coming in on those guys as well. I'm going to talk about this Maui championship. We're going to go live Friday and preview the Iron Bowl. Freshmen are talking, they're talking, and me and Blake, we both like it. We're literally, I think it's like 8 or 9 subs away from 2,000. So yeah, get over there Friday afternoon, man. Catch us live. Subscribe to us at the Uptempo podcast. We'd love to have you.
Yes, indeed. Appreciate you guys very much. We'll be back later, talking a little bit more Iron Bowl stuff later on this week here on the channel. But until the next time, and as always, War Eagle.